it feels so good to be back. Yo, what's up, world? Welcome back to the channel. APWSPORTS signing in, and welcome to Season 6, Episode 2 of Chicago Bears Weekly. And in today's episode, we're going to give our way too early projections of what the Bears could possibly do with the #1 overall pick in this upcoming 2023 NFL Draft. And stay tuned to the end of this video because I will do a mock draft for the #1 overall pick and what I personally think the Bears should do at the early stages of this offseason and heading into the 2023 draft. But before I do that, make sure you guys leave this video a like as it continues to help this channel to grow, and make sure you click the subscribe button and notification bell so you will not miss any of the videos that I post on this channel. But welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Weekly, and it's time to talk about the #1 overall pick. Without further ado, let's dive into it. Now, going into this off season, and we're still in the early stages, and there has been a ton of talk about what the Bears should do with the #1 overall pick ever since the Bears earned the #1 overall pick at their Week 18 concluded. There's been a lot of talk about trading Justin Fields. I'm not going to get deep into that. I'll leave a video in the cards above and in the description below as to why I think a Justin Fields trade will be dumb. A thing that Justin Fields trade will be dumb, and speaking of the #1 overall pick, is they've been projected to take Bryce Young, possibly CJ Stroud, and I've even heard some talk about Will Levis. It's not going to happen in my personal opinion because Justin Fields is QB1, but I won't get too deep into that. I'll let you guys watch the video in the below and in the cards. But the #1 overall pick is something that the Bears have not had in a modern era since 1947. And with the Bears having a ton of cap space, probably over $100 million, with the Bears having the #1 overall pick and draft assets, there is no way that the Bears, with the holes on this roster as it has right now, is going to sit at the #1 overall pick. But just for the sake of discussion, let's say that they do. Now, quarterback out of the window, out of the question. The Bears don't need that. Now, there are holes on this Bears team, whether it's the offensive line, whether it's the wide receiver position, whether it's the defensive front seven. This Bears team has a lot of holes to fix going into 2023. I'm not going to dive deep into what I think the Bears should do in free agency. That's probably going to be another Chicago Bears Weekly episode down the line. But assuming as the Bears are going to address a lot of those holes in free agency, I just do not believe they are going to stay at the #1 overall pick. Here's why. One, Ryan Poles has always said that he wants to build this Chicago Bears team through the draft. And albeit #1 overall pick, you can get the most talented guy and get the guy that you want and the guy that's going to help your football team and probably change your team going forward. But seeing as at the position the Bears are in now, where they have a lot of holes to fix, they have a lot of cap space to fix those holes, and they have draft assets to fix those holes, and as well as they have teams that are willing to move up to that #1 overall slot and possibly take that quarterback that they are going to need at the #1 overall pick. Now, a couple of teams come to mind. The Las Vegas Raiders, who just released Derek Carr, could be a possible trade team with the Bears. The Carolina Panthers, we are unsure of what their quarterback position is going to look like. Even the possibility of a team in their own division, the Detroit Lions, could possibly be a team that could be a dark horse, can move up into that #1 overall pick if the Bears do a trade within their own division. But I think the two teams that are probably going to throw more at the Bears to get that guy at #1 overall will probably be the Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts. Now, both of those teams are going into new regimes as far as head coaching goes. DeMeco Ryans with the Houston Texans and Shane Gitchen, I hope I'm not butchering that name, with the Indianapolis Colts. Both of those teams have young rosters. I think the Colts are a little bit older than the Texans are. The Texans have a very young roster. Both teams have brand new head coaches. Both teams are in rebuilding mode, and it happens to be that both teams are division rivals. Now, saying that both teams are division rivals may not mean some to some people, but when you look deeper into it, it means a lot because you have two teams that are, number one, they need their franchise quarterback of the future, and they have the assets to move up into that number one overall selection. Now, we're talking about the Houston Texans, a team that, shout out to Lovie Smith, but beating the Colts in the last game of the year to get the number one overall pick for the Bears. And the Texans are a very young team. Davis Mills was the quarterback last season, but we watched that and we know that they need the number one quarterback. And we're talking about an Indianapolis Colts team who had Sam Ehlinger, Matt Ryan, and that didn't work at all. They've been through quarterback, through veteran the last couple of seasons. So they are looking to restart and rebuild this football team. The Houston Texans are a team that I think if they even stay at number 2, they can still get the quarterback of their future. The Indianapolis Colts, I think, are the team to really look out for. They are probably going to throw more at the Bears because their GM has already came out and said that they are going to be desperate to find their quarterback of the future. The Raiders, the Lions, Panthers, Texans, and Colts, I think are trade possibilities for the Bears, and the Bears can obtain more assets, and Ryan Poles can continue to build this football team through the draft, and they can continue to acquire pieces to help build this team and help Justin Fields grow and get more weapons around him and get an adequate defense around him to go forward. Now, even if the Bears will stay at number 1 or trade back, there are 2 names that I think they will go after, and that is Jalen Carter, defensive tackle from Georgia, and Will Anderson, edge rusher from the University of Alabama. Those 2 have really top-notch potential. Now, if I had a preference, I would probably go Will Anderson because I personally watched and kept an eye on Jalen Carter versus Ohio State in a national semifinal for the college football playoff. While be it Jalen Carter was a guy who can be dominant, who has the potential to be a very good defensive tackle in his league at a 3 technique, and that would really help in a Matt Eberflus 4-3 defense. It just seemed like Jalen Carter's conditioning could be an issue because during that game, from my viewpoint and eyesight, it seemed like Jalen Carter was out of the football game more than he was in the football game. Albeit, it's always good to have a good defensive line rotation in the NFL so you can keep the guys fresh, so you can keep them physical and keep them playing at their best level. But it just seems like even on some of the critical downs, it just seemed like Jalen Carter was out of the football game. Now, you're talking about a Chicago Bears team that in 2022 absolutely struggled to get after the quarterback. Even with Robert Quinn and after the Robert Quinn trade, this Bears defensive front was just not creating pressure. And some of the sacks that this defensive Bears team had were created by blitzing. I think Will Anderson will be the better player. I think he will be the better fit for this Bears defense. Even though a 4-3 technique defensive tackle is a very good option in this defense because Matt Eberflus had DeForest Buckner, who was a very good 4-3 defensive tackle in this Colts defense before he became the Chicago Bears head coach, and Jalen Carter could be that as well. I just think some of the fatigue issues could come up with Jalen Carter, albeit he has top potential, but I always think you can get that solid 4-3 technique defensive tackle probably in free agency. So I think you take the young pass rusher in Will Anderson who can get after the quarterback and set the edge and help this Bears defense continue to build, continue to get more pieces and grow in 2023. Now, for the sake of this video, I'm only going to do the first round. Now, if you guys want to see me do a full mock draft of the Chicago Bears, make sure you leave this video a like and click the subscribe button. That could be a possible Chicago Bears weekly episode down. But just for the sake of this video, I'm only going to do the number 1 overall pick and what I personally would do and what I think the Bears should do. So, of course, we're going to select the Bears. We're going to enter this draft. And to be honest, I think the Bears should trade with the Indianapolis Colts. Of course, they're going to exchange the 1st and 4th overall picks. I think they're going to throw a first round pick in 2024. And if they get desperate, I think they're going to throw a first round in 2025. And I think the Bears are probably going to have to give up maybe a third in next year's draft in order for this to really work. I think the Colts are going to be absolutely desperate to get their number one quarterback because this team they have good pieces, but I just think they're in a position where they need to develop the quarterback of their future and stop going after these veteran, possible one-year options. So I think the Bears are going to trade a first to get the Colts fourth. The Colts are going to give up 2 additional first. And I think possibly they can throw a second rounder in there for next year's draft. They might be a little bit too much, but I'm going to try to make this trade go through. And let's get with this trade. Let's go back to this trade. Let's go first, bam, bam, bam. And let's go bam, bam. And it says the team is not interested in trading for this pick. But I'm going to force this trade anyway because I think that's what they're going to do. Now, the Colts are probably going to draft the quarterback, and so will the Texans. So we're going to take this draft. We're going to resume it. And the Colts selected Bryce Young. The Texans selected C.J. Stroud. The Cardinals picked Jalen Carter. That gets right into my plan. And the Bears are going to draft Will Anderson from the University of Alabama. So that is what I think the Bears should do with that number 1 overall pick. And that is what I think the Bears will do. And I think the Colts are going to be the team to trade with. But that is going to do it for this week's episode of Chicago Bears Weekly. Make sure you guys leave this video a like. Comment you guys' thoughts down below. What would you do with the number 1 overall pick if you were the Bears? And as well as click the sub button and notification bell so you will not miss any of the videos that I post. But I am APW Sports signing out. Make sure you guys stay safe. Have a great and excellent day. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.